Like, what is your message to someone who's just a little stuck and not able to move into the go for it? How would you sort of inspire them, and why would it be important to do it?
This is exactly what I always say. Like, if you hesitate, the water doesn't get warmer. If you jump into cold water, I think that's exactly the thing. And everybody needs to figure this out by themselves.
Welcome back to On the Cusp. I'm your host, Dr. Brett Gilbert, and I'm so excited to be able to welcome so many incredible guests onto this show and build a community of leaders, community of guidance, and a community of inspiration because, man, there is just so many frustrations, so many challenges in this life. And when we can rely on each other and lean on each other as a community, it really helps to make life a little bit better. And so that's what I'm hoping today's episode is going to accomplish. I actually know it's going to, because we've got some science behind it and we've got an incredible innovator here with us. But I want to introduce, we have an incredible guest today, Sigmar Berg. And so today's guest is a visionary entrepreneur, an artist, designer, and a founder whose journey has taken him from architecture, fashion, photography, to the world of mindfulness and sound healing. And that's something I'm really, really excited to get into today. So Sigmar Berg is the founder of Love Tuner, which is a global movement built around a simple but powerful idea that a more peaceful, loving, and connected world begins in our own inner state. Inspired by the 528 hertz frequency, often referred to as the love frequency, Sigmar created the Love Tuner as a mindfulness tool that combines conscious breathing, sound, and intention to help people move from stress and overwhelm to presence and connection. What began as a personal spiritual journey for him has grown into an international community focused on breath, frequency, wellness, and human connection, which is so, so wonderful. Through the Love Tuner Foundation, Sigmar has also brought these practices into schools, wellness programs, communities seeking greater emotional resilience and harmony, and as I'll probably speak to, into his nursery with a 1-year-old baby who it seems to work like magic on. So in a world where burnout, distraction, and stress have become the norm, Sigmar's message is both simple and it's also profound. One conscious breath can change your state, and changing your state can change your life. So please join me in welcoming to the On the Cusp community, Sigmar Berg. Welcome, Sigmar.
Brad, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the intro. I should send this to my PR office. This is well done. Thank you.
I'll be your hype man anytime. So, and what we were talking about, we're going to get into the whole interview, but what we were talking about is this incredible little device called the Love Tuner right here. And so I'm going to just play it real quick. I don't know if I'm as good as you, probably not, but that's the 528 hertz frequency, right? The love frequency. And maybe we can get Sigmar to, I know he's got his right around his neck there, it looks like. So maybe we can get him to play it as well. But
I can demonstrate it real quick that it's not so
please.
abstract what we're talking about. So the Love Tuner, what I wear as a necklace, we have it also on a keychain, whatever you want to do. It's actually a single tone flute. You get it out of this cap. And what you basically do, you do a conscious breathing break. You arrive in the here and now, and on the spiritual level, because of the 528 hertz frequency, you invite love in your life. So it helps your immune system, it helps you to calm down, it takes away stress and anxiety before panic even happens in your system. So, and this is how it sounds, as Dr. Brett Gilbert just played it. It's like a high-pitched C. And what you do, it's not a whistle. So you extend your exhale as long as you can, as long as it feels good. It's not a competition, but we have some waterman surfers, they can exhale for a minute, 20 seconds, what is incredible. But for the normal user, we should aim like 15 seconds to at 1.45 seconds, whatever you can accomplish, because it really boosts your immune system. It strengthens your lung volume, and it gives you this quick reset, this retune that we all miss sometimes, because we go through a day on a shallow breath and we don't take care about ourselves. We feel that it's going downwards, but we don't do anything. Most of the time we add more stress to the situation. And I learned it, and many thousands of people that are using it, it's like their secret weapon to stay calm and in balance.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, I've had these actually for a few years now, and I just love it. And like we talked about when we first met, it's like not only is the sound and the energy of that, but the breath and the intention behind it is so beautiful. So we'll get into that just a little bit. But before we get started, Sigmar, a question I always like to ask my guests is what are you feeling grateful for today as you sit there and we have this chance to connect together?
That we are still breathing, and really enjoying the moment. This is what I'm grateful every day, like it. You have good days, you have bad days, but when you focus on that you're alive and in the here and now, and you don't get tracked in what happened in the past and what might in the future. So I'm grateful for the here and now. This is what I try consciously to be at.
Beautiful. And what we all should aim for, because I believe that all the stress and everything that's going on around us, it's part of the curriculum. And
Yeah.
the curriculum is to distract you, but when you can come back to presence, come back to here and now, as you say, or as Ram Dass always shared, be here now. Same concept is so beautiful. So, Sigmar, so much I want to ask you just because you've had such an incredible history with your career and the things that you've created. But you've built businesses in fashion, in art, photography, design, all before you founded Love Tuner. So looking back, what do you think was the most pivotal moment that kind of convinced you to maybe pivot from one successful career path to another and dedicate yourself to this mission that's more based on mindfulness and healing and human connection? And I ask this with also intention because, a lot of clinicians are very, very stressed out. They sign up for this career very young in their life. They invest a tremendous amount of capital, financial, energetic, time. And then a lot of times they get into the career and find that it's just not exactly what they thought it was. And maybe it does or doesn't suit them. But as someone who has sort of successfully pivoted through different phases of your career and creation, can you talk about was there a moment, was there a theme to why you made changes in your career?
I think, I didn't have a traumatic change, what a lot of people say they have a near-death experience and then suddenly or overcome a drug addiction. So I was always very healthy my entire life and I never had this. But, a modern career takes so much out of you. And we talked about your colleagues. And similar is also in my world. I was always creative and then I relocated my company from Europe first I had a showroom in New York and then we moved as a family to Los Angeles and I live in Malibu. So everything looked really cool on the outside. But the funniest thing is, and this is I think what made me really wake up, is when you then really arrive where you think that's the peak, you're invited to the Oscars and you have celebrities wearing your stuff and all these things and you have a cool, shiny life. And then you figure out that your private life is not so great. And what always happens, because you're so driven for a long time that you don't even see what's going on. And then I think, and this was the beauty for me, I always was a waterman. I always was connected to water. And then I started surfing. I kite surf for many, many years. And this became so my little meditation subconsciously, I just felt great. And at one point, I recognized that what I liked so much about my career was very, very shallow. And if you go a little bit deeper, there is just nothing. You can have a good time. The more you numb yourself with great, whatever, dinners and parties and whatever you want to call it, at the end of the day, you're just not happy. And I happened to learn meditation about nearly 20 years ago when I moved to California. And it helped me for a little bit, but I literally wanted to seek something deeper. And it helped me to ease out the stress, and I highly recommend it to everyone who is stressed. I recommend to have somehow of a hygienical, whatever, spiritual hygiene to reset your mindset, to calm yourself, because we are firing about 75,000 thoughts a day. And if you get only a couple of minutes, we call it mindfulness, but I call it mind emptiness, where you literally tune out of your head, go into your heart and listen to what is really important for our existence. And this happened gradually. And then I got on a guided meditation introduced to the 528 hertz frequency. And it literally, I say this in all my videos, it literally touched my heart and it gave me the awakening. And I was happy that it became a career for me, because otherwise I would have been looking on the outside to find this tool or to find my method, and it happened to become my mission. So, nothing in life I think is accidental. There's like a path for you. And I think if I would not have seen the other side, I would have not been so happy to be on this side now. And this is without any judgment, but when you raise your consciousness and when you come aware of, it doesn't mean, and I was doing fashion for many years after I invented the love tuner, and I appreciate it. I mean, I like to design, I like creativity, I like beautiful things and creation in general, but and I think it even makes you better. So it's not, when we talk about doctors that are stressed out, don't leave your office and don't go to Costa Rica, and like, that's not the way, because we all invested so much time and so much effort in what we love. What we thought at one point is our life and it makes us happy. But when we recognize that this just pays the bills, some people have bigger bills, some have smaller bills, but at the end of the day, it just makes us survive in the society. I think it's not the right thing to escape society, but I think it's to find the freedom within yourself to have peace. And yes, you need to adjust some stuff. All I talk about is frequency and vibration. Besides the love tuner, it comes down to a healthy rhythm, life rhythm. You need to understand what is a high frequency, what is a low frequency. I think if you drink a lot of alcohol, that's super low frequency. If you eat the wrong food, it's low frequency. If you don't move, you can tune all day long. If your system is not healthy, yeah, it might take whatever the edge off, but it will not heal you. So we have our own responsibility to be healthy. That's the first thing. And then gradually your life changes, because new people come in your life, maybe less than before, because it's not that you become more picky, but your frequency is just on a higher level. So some stuff is not in resonance with you anymore. And that feels at times lonely, because they go like, why? We have been best friends for 10 years, 15 years. And now it feels like a nostalgic thing. It's like, we don't have this connection anymore. We cannot talk about what me and you talking, for example. A lot of friends, you avoid certain themes because you go like, hey, if I really say what I feel and what I know, it might sound awkward to other people, but hey, who charges, go without judgment through your life. It's very hard. Go through one day without judgment and then reflect to yourself, why should anybody else charge you if it makes you happy? Because especially in our age, and being successful in whatever domain you are, that makes you really reflect, because you can go, hey, I have all the freedom in the world. I could go to South America or wherever. I can move into Sedona and open a crystal shop. All these options are there for us, but I still choose to be the father in the family, the provider, and the good doctor. It doesn't mean to drop everything, because the thing is, if you regulate your own frequency, people that will come into your office, they will recognize it and they go, hey, he's an amazing dentist, but I feel so good to spend time with this doctor, and we all notice. We go into a room and you go like, oh, there's a weird vibe. It drags us down. And then you spend time with somebody and you go like, that was really elevating. It makes me happy. And we do this subconsciously, because everything that we see and what our intellect told us is just an illusion, What we really react to is frequency. And this is why you have those days where you come home and go like, everything was okay. I made my money, my meetings have been okay, but I feel empty. And this happens because the frequency was just not right. And I think this is the most important thing. Find something that rebalances you.
That's beautiful, Sigmar. And what I took away from that and what I distilled was you were speaking to something that I think is really important, which is, sure, we can go away on vacation and mellow out and feel really good. And that's beautiful and that's needed.
Yeah.
But what about wellness when you're on? Because that's really where it's the most important. It's not really a luxury to imbibe in when you have nothing going on, you're out of town. How do you bring wellness into your life at home, in the office? And what's unique about the wellness category, and we talk about breathing techniques and meditation and physical movement, like you said, high frequency foods, high frequency thoughts, right?
Yeah.
All of these things. This is a rare physical manifestation that creates consistently this beautiful frequency, which, by the way, works great with patients. So anxious patients, that real sort of hectic day in the office, back in your private office, just and you don't have to understand why it works. You just can have faith that it does. And with that, though, I want to kind of bring up the skeptic's view, Sigmar, and I'm sure you take this on a lot.
Yeah.
For those that are, my experience in this idea of kind of living a different life, right? A life full of intention and presence and all the good things, is that a lot of times people don't know about it. They were never exposed to it. They didn't get a taste of it. And so from the skeptic's point of view, I think many people hear 528 hertz and immediately become skeptical. Like, how do you explain then the role of the love tuner and the role of the frequency to someone who's just really in their head, very analytical, science minded, like doctors typically are, and wants to understand what's actually happening? Can you talk a little bit about what you've learned through the research, through testimonials and experience of what actually happens when this frequency becomes audible to the human?
Yeah. So first of all, the 528 hertz is not a man-made frequency. It's nothing that I invented. It is a universal, you can also call it on a spiritual level, a divine frequency. It's called the love frequency, the miracle frequency, or the DNA repair frequency. And there's a lot of studies out there. But bringing it back to why it's so important is it occurs in every living matter. In the humming of the bees, the leaves of the trees are green because they vibrate in 528 hertz, because in the color spectrum, 528 hertz is green. So this up front it's not like a humming from your iPhone that makes you sleep. It's a real profound universal frequency. That's the first thing. Then for many, many centuries, 528 hertz was actually our C note on the musical scale. So 600 after Christ, the Gregorian choirs have been chanting in 528 hertz in all those big churches in Europe. And back then the churches have been more than just a gathering place. It was literally a sound bass, a sound dome. And it healed people, and the organ was playing, and it was exactly 528 hertz. And this frequency got actually manipulated. So our musical scale, when you go all the way to classical music, all the way to Mozart, everything was in 528 hertz. It got interfered by the Catholic Church in the medieval. It got interfered by Adolf Hitler before the Second World War. And in the 30s, it got institutionally changed. So the A tone, what is normally 444 hertz to have a harmonic musical scale, and the C note in 528 got changed to 440 hertz. So that lowered our musical scale, and the 528 hertz disappeared. Funny enough, John Lennon composed Imagine, what is still after more than 50 years the most prominent love and peace song in the world. He composed it in 520 hertz. So there's a lot of stuff to it where you go like, hey, wow, let me research this. And a lot of people will go like, that's all conspiracy and blah, blah, blah. But, that our leaves are green and that the frequency is in the universe, that's a big thing. And the next thing is when you look under a microscope on the reaction of water, when you expose it to 520 hertz, what it does is within 30 seconds, it goes from an amorph shape into a perfect hexagonal crystal shape, like water out of a mountain spring. So, and what is our body? 75, 80% water, blood 91. So when you use this little instrument, and this is why it's so important that it's not like an app you listen to. This little tuner vibrates, and this vibration goes into your body and measurable about 8 foot, this is 2.5 meters out of your body. So This is why it's so important when you tune with your family or when you tune in a group, because you connect on this frequency. But what it does in your body, it aligns water molecules, it declusters water molecules, and this gives you a physical feeling of relaxation. And these are the main aspects. And then obviously the breath work, the conscious breathing you do. And it's not like we have like thousands of modalities of breath work, from yogis to new devices which are out on the market. But the most important thing is, and I believe this, Albert Einstein says, make it simple, but don't make it simpler. So, and I believe in this. This is a simple tool. This is not that I'm a genius, but what it does is it gives you an audible feedback on your exhale. So you're spot on. As soon as the frequency drops, inhale, open your lung, do it again. And within 10 days, a month, you become a professional in breath work without doing any exercises, without going anywhere. The next thing is the tone focuses you, because when you learn classical meditation, it's not so easy. I mean, I did it, and I was at one point, I think, proficient, but to sit 20 minutes twice a day and then take out a little gap that really helps you to calm your mind. Or you're a cheater and you go like, hey, I take this one, I do breath work, and I cut my meditation shorter because the tone helps me. The tone literally zooms me out. It just starts exactly these critical thoughts like, I'm doing it right, or do I do something wrong? I'm really meditating, or I'm just pretending. Like all those critical thoughts calm down because you focus on the tone and makes it easy. And I mean, I know a lot of meditation gurus will hate me for this, and because I say love tuning cuts meditation short, and I normally don't recommend this, because if somebody has a beautiful routine that helps him, don't shortcut your routine that you have and works for you. The love tuner can be a great add-on. And if you're not in this field, and if you're critical and you go like, listen, I don't believe nothing about 520 hertz. I'm so like, I want to see it, I want to feel it, then give it a try. Just give it a try, tune in, and don't be scared, because what it really does, and this is why people are so critical, and believe me, when I started with the love tuner, I believe that everybody comes and go like, man, this is the best, and I need it for myself, for my family, for my friends. And it's not, because a lot of people are very skeptical, and this skepticism comes often from not wanting to literally touch their heart field, because the intellect absolutely protects us. And you notice from my foundation, we work with veterans. So the main focus is obviously kids. So we work with a bunch of school programs, but also with veterans. And with veterans, I've seen something when they started tuning. And there have been guys like bodies like gladiators and a limb missing. And then they tune into their heart. And suddenly you see those guys, breaking out in tears. Then you access exactly where life starts, where the trauma sits, why don't you feel well? I mean, our intellect can always override it. It's because of politics. It's because of whatever we come up with. We always have an excuse. But as Carl Jung said, if you look on the outside, you become a dreamer. And if you go inward, you awaken. And this is our journey. And if somebody is critical, I always say, listen, just give it a try. You have so many excuses why not to do it. And obviously, just by criticizing something, you must also be offended by it, because otherwise, I always say when people leave bad reviews, it must, trigger them. So if something triggers you, then obviously something is not right in your life and you're not super relaxed. You are not content with yourself, and probably you're not that happy as you could be.
Yeah. And, they say the things we resist the most are really the things that we need the most. And I agree with you. I've been very fortunate to have fallen into meditation beautifully. And I think there's a lot of misnomers and a lot of misunderstanding. But the way that you point out, just the simple act of breathing through it and then allowing it to do what it does, just try it. That's my recommendation. This is a low investment for the ROI that comes from this little device. And I've got another one here still in the box. So again, it says One Journey. I don't know if this is the newest packaging, but one journey. That one journey is this one life that we're in right now. And I love how you said that. And I think the best part of what you said is if you're skeptical, just give it a try. And I love what you guys are doing with the foundation and helping. Trauma is a very challenging topic to touch into, to work through, but the rewards of working through it, and I'm saying this from my own experience, working through my own trauma and pain has been life-changing. So if this opens the door even just a little bit, Sigmar, what a beautiful service for humanity. So, and in that vein, we talked about this when we met, but healthcare professionals at this moment are experiencing just an unprecedented level of burnout, stress, anxiety, suicidal ideation, and even worse, actual suicide, including some of the dental students. This is a big problem that we're not talking about enough. And so how do you believe, like in the realm of a clinician, someone who's going in and giving their all to everyone else all the time at home in their clinical practice, how do you believe breath, sound, mindfulness practice can really help clinicians regulate their nervous system? Because it's really about reconnecting back into life. Because you mentioned survival mode earlier. A lot of clinicians are simply trying to survive the next day. And with all the work that we've put in to get here, this isn't exactly the life that we were looking for. So how can you, in your sort of frame of reference, speak to a clinician about the benefits of all of these beautiful high frequency activities?
I mean, I think, and I also know you guys' schedule, especially when you start as a doctor, it's unbelievable. The hours you do, the environment you're living in, as you just said, I had a baby just recently, and it was the first time that I have been to a hospital again. But just from the lights, and we had a great setup. So we had a midwife and everything was cool, lights dimmed. But as soon as you walk outside, you see the nurses, see the doctors. I mean, they don't even see a daylight, and the flickering light. So when you really become conscious about this, and then also the food, what they consume in the hospital, like not really sitting down, the stuff they eat. So I think it's very important that these people really stay healthy and do everything and are conscious about their environment. So when you work there and you help people and you're an amazing doctor, then I also say you cannot be a good doctor if you're yourself not happy and if you're not healthy. So first thing is look at yourself, because you can only be as good as a doctor and help your patient as you feel like. So this is the first thing. And I think it's very important. And just to touch about the love tuner, I have friends, they're in positions with their businesses where they cannot wear this, and they're not in California and they're not hippies, but they have serious jobs and they wear it under their suit or under their whatever uniform. But they use the love tuner as the secret weapon. And this is why I think that would be great for professionals in the medical field to literally go like, listen, I'm jumping from one patient to the other. Why don't I go outside, find like 3 minutes, do my breath work, use the love tuner, retune myself? Because what you should do is also, you have a certain energy. You see a bunch of patients every day. So in between, why don't you cut this energy, Just cut the energy. Just reset yourself, and then approach the other person. And if you have the luxury of having your own office, why don't you tune with your patients, Because nobody likes to go to the doctor. It's just a fact, It's just like some people don't like to be on an airplane, It's like it stresses people out. And you know this better. You just take the blood pressure of someone that goes to a dentist and suddenly he has a different blood pressure than he normally has. So obviously it's not our perfect surrounding. And if a doctor is already super chill, he can take, this stress away, this anxiety from this patient. And in the long term, why don't you tune with your client? Go like, hey, listen, let's do a tune real quick. Like we all both, wow, I had already 10 patients today. You have been stressed out coming in traffic here, finding a parking lot. So now you're sitting in my chair. So why let's not tune together? And I know a lot of people will go like, the guy's completely nuts. How can I do this? But I have seen it with thousands of people. We did seminars where we put complete strangers towards each other and we learned them how to connect on a heart level. And I've never seen so many tears. And this is what we all are. we run on our heart field and we completely ignore it. I mean, I wrote this book because you mentioned earlier One Journey. This book is also called One Journey, and it says a lot about love tune, obviously frequency and healing, but it also talks about heart coherence, and it talks about the power of the heart. So our magnetic field is 50,000 times stronger than our magnetic field of the brain, and we still only listen to our brain. So when we get into heart coherence, and this is where the love tune is super easy to use, then we just make better decisions, and our hearts are curious. So what divides us is mainly the intellect. When the human hearts meet in the room, they're curious to connect. And then stuff comes up like, oh, I don't like this guy's truck ahead, or whatever it is, where we have some guards up or experiences or just like what projections. But as a human, we want to connect, we are not so separated as we think, this is, and I don't want to go into matrix and systems and whatnot, but on a human level, and we can experience this everywhere. When humans connect, that's just beautiful. And when you connect with a human that is so different to you, that's the most, precious moment you can have, where you go, wow, that's really what humans are.
Yeah. Wow. That's really beautiful. And, yeah, I definitely want to get a hold of that book. And I love what you're talking about with heart coherence. And, there's a classic way of saying that one regulated clinician regulates others, because that energetic force is so powerful. But interestingly enough, our conscious mind, our egoic mind, does sometimes block our remembering that is real. That's real influence. Being an influencer is a buzzword nowadays, but real influence is when your own regulation can regulate others. And as a clinician myself, and actually I hadn't thought of bringing it into the operatory until we had our pre-meeting, and I did it. And it was pretty awesome. Patient was very receptive, asked all about it. I think it could also be a cool thing to do with your team in the morning when you huddle, right? Just to get everyone on the same page, all these caring people. But to your point, things get crazy, and things are happening in our lives, and to have some baseline to reconnect with yourself, because you were talking about in the hospital, you're in this external environment. We live in all these external environments, but what about the internal environment?
Exactly.
That's a safe space. You can go any minute of the day. It's free. It's always available. You just want to cultivate it and clean it up so that it's as gentle and kind as can be, because one way or another, if you pay attention inside, you're going to start to heal. And this is a great tool to help that. So with that being said, Sigmar, I want to talk about, obviously people focus on the sound of the love tuner, but you've often spoken about the stillness that follows the sound. So in essence, what have you learned about the power of silence? Why is it something so many of us tend to not embrace, and you talked about meditation and all the fidgeting and the thoughts, but like, where does silence and stillness fit in, and how does the love tuner help us get there?
I answer this in a second, but when you've been talking about doctors, I want to show you something about a hospital setting. This is a while ago, and I just scrolled on my phone to find it again. This is a heart surgeon. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
And he's tuning his equipment before a heart surgery with the love tune. I don't know if you can see this.
Wow, that is sweet. And he posted it?
Yeah, he posted this. This is why we have it. And I mean, I think that's really cool, and this makes me happy because I know it works. But obviously we're not allowed to say something like this, and there's so many beautiful effects. And when people understand what frequency can do, negative or positive, then this is great. But sorry to not answering.
No, I love that. Was that Robert Follows? Who was that?
I need to look it up who it was. Let me see. It's gone. Let me see. I let you know. I send it to you, the name of the doctor.
Maybe I'll get you some more content like that. How about that?
But, when you come to this, the stillness of our mind, I think that's the most important thing. So when you tune, and this is what I think we say it in our videos, we recommend like 6 cycles, and then find at least 30 seconds in stillness. Do not go like, oh, this was great, or talk to whoever's around. Like literally sit with this silence, because everything trickles in, and then you have exactly this feeling of the silence of your mind. And that's what it's all about. This is actually the core exercise. If there would be something that brings you right to this point, I would go like forget love tuning. Besides, it's the exercise for your lung. But if you can access this in no time, I would go let's stay in the 30 seconds, because that's so powerful. The stillness of your mind. And this is where you really go like, wow, what is happening now? Why do I feel so good? And I don't even want to open my eyes for a second. I want to stay right there. And then what you do, like you open your eyes and you just feel like everything is fine. You're just like retuned and you carry on what you've been doing before, but you do it in a different state of mind, in a more stillness of your mind, rebalanced. And basically we are frequency body, we only frequency and energy. And when you look at an instrument, for example, when it gets out of tone, everybody hears it and goes, hey, let's retune it. And we run so out of tune, for hours, for days, for years, for lifetimes we're out of tune. And if we find something to regulate us, and bring us into tune, that's just beautiful, because this is how, and I don't want to sound too religious here, but this is really what creation is all about, to live in harmony within yourself and with the world around you. And if you can create this, I think stillness is the most important thing, and this is why so many people have so much white noise around and constantly entertained, because that keeps them busy. And the more money you have, the easier it is to be entertained. Some people, whatever, watch TV all the time, or some people go from one event to the other, fly around the world, and then you hear all the crazy cool stories, what happened in their life. But at the end of the day, it's just avoiding the stillness.
Yeah. Well, the stillness. And I think for people that are doing these wellness practices and are focused on their personal growth, to me, a lot of it comes from like what you were describing. It's just getting that first taste, right? That first taste, like you mentioned, of not wanting to open your eyes, of actually feeling at peace physically, mentally, and just having that moment, because temporally it's a very short moment, but impact on your life and how you want to walk from that moment on can be incredibly powerful, just to get that taste. Because like you said, there's a lot of chaos internally. And I always say, in my own experience, in my own healing journey, it was about healing inside of my own skin. Who can you truly be if you don't take a chance to actually go into your internal state and pay attention? At first, it might be noisy, chaotic, and very, very painful, but stay with it, tune, breathe, get into a practice. I know that many people, myself included, very successful people, will tell how the morning is very, very important to them in terms of devoting time to certain practices and things. So I want to ask you, Sigmar, in terms of like, if every listener here that's tuning in with us can adopt one practice from what's clearly your personal routine that is working beautifully for you, something that maybe takes less than 5 minutes. And obviously the love tuner, 6 breaths, 30 seconds after, certainly fits into that. But what else might you recommend in terms of emotional, physical well-being that would be like one takeaway for our audience to consider adopting?
I think self-criticism is horrible. Like, I think this really destroys your frequency. And I mean, I'm a perfectionist, and this is anyway horrible for everybody around and for myself. So, but self-criticism is the next level. Like, you can try to be perfect, but self-criticism is really the one that destroys you, because we all fuck up. We all do things that are not good, including me. And this is, if you go into any practice and you go like, listen, I want to elevate my consciousness, and you go already in there, I don't know, is this my field? This is really what I want to do. You know what I mean? I'm not ready for this. And yes, you're not ready. You're going to fail, because you get ready by doing it. It's the one journey. It's a journey. It doesn't say target. It doesn't say, the end game. It's the journey. And when you do this, when you consciously hold on to this journey, because you only need to see it once. And I think this is the main concept, because whatever practice is, yes, use the love tuner, simple, very efficient, physically proven, spiritually proven, so it works. But if you have this mindset that you know you will fail and that you trust in your journey, then this is the most important thing in life. Because everything else, yes, change your lifestyle, eat healthy, wake up early, use an ice bath, find your meditation in the morning, be grateful, do all those rituals. We know them all. But most important is go on this journey. This is what I can really tell everyone. And this is just have this spark in you, be like a child again, be really inspired and have this curiosity to go on this journey, no matter how stupid you look. Like you don't, because you do it for yourself.
It's interesting because what's taken shape here, I mean, Love Tuner isn't in itself a product. Yeah. And I know that you've built this company around it. You come from other backgrounds, other business experiences. This feels a lot more like a movement, right? In terms of having a product as a gateway into a greater way of being. I find that as clinicians, many of us feel, and I was this way myself until I broke through with my own growth and started to diversify and create. This podcast is an example of an idea that felt like it would feel good to do this, and it feels great. I love it. I get tremendous joy from it. But as someone who has sort of pivoted around and built a product, a company, and now a movement, what would you say to a clinician that maybe feels stuck? As someone that's clearly taken a personal passion, something that came through you that felt so good that you obviously wanted to share it with others, what would you say to someone who is kind of not sure what steps to take in terms of inspiring them that, hey, you have a great idea, something that you think is going to bring you joy and light you up? Go for it. Like, what is your message to someone who's just a little stuck and not able to move into the go for it? How would you sort of inspire them, and why would it be important to do it?
This is exactly what I always say. Like, if you hesitate, the water doesn't get warmer. If you jump into cold water, I think that's exactly the thing. And everybody needs to figure this out by themselves. And the point of the movement was also more and more people wanted to talk, not to me, but just to have community. And then I started doing these Q&As. And in these Q&As, I learned a lot from people what they really want. Then we started, before the pandemic, seminars in Europe, and it became very popular. So I had, the luxury to really talk to people, what's going on with them. And then I started my one-on-one tuning session. So people can book a session with me, and I talk to them. And I had people from all over the place and whatever, in different aspects of life. And it always comes to the really one thing, what I said earlier, the water doesn't get warmer. It's literally, you need to jump. And when you're already on the edge, there's a reason you're right there. Don't hold yourself back. It's like literally, man, just fucking do it. You need to jump, and then whatever comes afterwards, that's the journey, and it's really like jump.
Wow. I'm so glad I asked you that question, because that was such a fantastic answer. I'm going to take that. The water's not going to get any warmer, man. I love it. So I have one more question, Sigmar, but I want to just, before we do that, we want to build community here. Where can our listeners find you? What are you offering? Obviously, we want to talk about them getting a hold of some Love Tuners for their own use. But what else do you have going on? I know you mentioned the foundation, you have the book. I didn't know you do private sessions. Talk a little bit about what you're offering, and we'll have this all linked up in our show notes.
So the best is to go on our homepage, is lovetuner.com. So this became a kind of an e-commerce company, because we are shipping around the world. We have fulfillment centers in 3 continents. So that's the one aspect. And as soon as you tune, we call it the frequency tribe, because you get connected. And lovetuner.com is the first thing. And then you will find people, because you're in a frequency. I was like last year in Europe, and I was on an escalator on a big airport when I was connecting to another city, and I was wearing my hat, and the person was coming down on the escalator, suddenly puts the Love Tune out and starts tuning, and I put mine out, and we're tuning, and we're going up and down.
That's great.
And the thing is, you're not alone, because it's like, yes, maybe you don't run into somebody on the street right away, but every time you connect in this field of frequency. There's a lot of a lot of hearts connected. This is this web around the world where we all connect. And I think that's the community that you feel on a spiritual, energetic level right away. And then we are very open to, we have team writers, we have doctors on board, and everybody is doing it. Some people more, some people less, but they're all advocates, because one thing, and this is more important than selling love to, is it really bringing people together in more loving togetherness, building communities, knowing that you're not alone out there, that suicide is anyway not an option, because you just go back to the start and it's going to be probably worse than before. So, before it gets dark, reach out. And I mean, we have also a support line. Reach out to us, send us what's going on, and we are really happy to walk you through. We are just inventing, so it's already patented. We are launching actually in 2 months a new tuner. It has all the healing frequencies on there, all the Zafacho frequency. It's not intended for a use like me and you when we're just going to do our daily things, but it's going to be more for practitioners to heal their whatever. They go their massage, they do Reiki, that these practitioners can use it. So the multi-frequency tuner will be launched within the next 2 months. But for me, the overall thing is check out lovetuner.com, get in contact with us. We also have a pretty active social media presence. And listen, we're all about healing. We want to help people. And most importantly is don't rely on us. Use the Love Tuner to get in charge. It's all about self-empowerment. Don't see us as whatever, the helpline. Don't see us as a guru. We are not any of this. We want you to live your authentic life to the fullest and be self-empowered. Don't doubt yourself. Jump in the cold water and go on this journey.
It's so beautiful to hear your words and talking about a web of connection through hearts, because we're in a moment where what's really being disseminated around the world, at least in the news and on social, is hate. Hate, and it doesn't feel natural. It's poisonous. Whereas the love and the heart coherence and the connection, but that's nature. That's our authenticity as humans. So I really acknowledge what you're building, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. Sigmar, before we let you go, I know you're a busy man. I have one last question that I like to ask all my guests. You have an 18-year-old being in front of you, whatever that looks like. It could be of any variation. And this human, this soul is saying, Sigmar, I really just feel in my chest that I just want to live a great life. I want to make an impact. I want to be of service, but I honestly don't know how to get started. What would you say is just one solid, tangible step, putting your first foot on the first brick of a sidewalk that is this one journey? What would be that piece of tangible advice you'd give?
I mean, first of all, when an 18-year-old one asks this question, you can only hug him and say, unbelievable, because we probably did not have this mindset with 18. But I mean, the only thing what you can say is really trust yourself, really believe in yourself. You will fail, but you will also succeed. And this is what I would say, really believe in yourself, trust yourself, and don't listen to too many people. It all comes down to that you only have one life and you need to live it to the fullest. And if you listen to a lot of people, you know how we call it, a lot of chefs make a bad broth. This is really what it is. If a kid stands there with 18, just tell them, trust yourself. You're already so far. Keep on going. You have a long life and a happy life ahead of you.
Wow. Beautiful. Sigmar Berg, founder of Love Tuner, author of One Journey, a man that has worn many hats, including the one on today. And man, thanks for coming on and spreading a lot of love. And in my opinion, some real tangible things that doctors and clinicians can grab a hold of to help themselves. Because when we help ourselves and when we fill our cup, when we heal ourselves, our ability to heal others is magnified exponentially. So thank you for helping us get there, Sigmar. I really acknowledge you. Congrats on the new baby. And it's been a real pleasure connecting with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. Have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you.